And next question is like, some athletes may not understand the benefits of seeing a provider when they're healthy, right? So they may just be like, I'm fine, I don't need a provider. So what is the most compelling reason you can give as to why an athlete should see a provider for prehab? So Kurt, how about you take that?
Yeah, this question is, isn't this like why you created this whole company?
Yes.
Like, this is not easy, right? This is, we're all trying to figure out, what does this mean? Like, all these different providers, how do I address it? And so, I was trying to think of an analogy because I'm trying to teach you guys or tell you guys things that you'll remember. And so, unless you lived under a rock lately, you know what the stock market's been doing, right? And so, like, we're all taught and agree that diversification is, so stay with me for a second, we'll get back to the expression. So I wrote down this because I wanted to, but we're taught that and agree that diversification in a retirement fund is a good idea, right? So example, like mutual funds, okay? So you have 4 categories. You have growth and income, which is like your large cap, big boring U.S. companies. You have your growth, which are like mid cap U.S. companies still experiencing growth. Your aggressive growth, small, that's like a wild child, right? And it could be large U.S. company, emerging market, and then you have your international. So let's say you put 25% in each of those categories, right? These funds create a stable foundation for your portfolio. That way your retirement, if it doesn't totally tank if something happens to the economy, right? And so if we hire an expert to teach us and to manage our money, why aren't we hiring an expert to teach us and manage our bodies? So I'm not going to put each category or each provider into a category, but I think we all know who the wild child is. But so what I want you to think about is like diversify your healthcare providers. Okay, so if we look at the website and everyone that they have chiropractors, physical therapists, strength and conditioning coaches, personal trainers, massage therapists, acupuncturists, nutritionists, dietitians, sports psychologists. I put reflexologists in there because I use it, but so you need to put your team together, right? You have to understand that if you want to do this and you want to do it for a long time, right? Then you just need to basically think about this long term, like the ups and downs, right, of the stock market and what's going on. Think more of long term. So this is a body that you have. You have one of these one body, right? You're going to try and do this as long as you can, and you're going to have some ups and downs. Understand that, but you want to always be kind of heading in the right direction. You want to try and avoid these as much as you can. So you need to put your team together based on your needs and take initiative on those areas that you're comfortable with. So a lot of us are comfortable with like our nutrition or the way that we eat and you know, meditation or the way that we're thinking. And there's a ton of stuff out there now, right? Like what do you do with nutrition? Or do you go vegan? Do you go pagan? I heard pagan. Someone's pagan. And I said, what is pagan? And they said, vegan and paleo. I said, isn't that just eating? So, you have to understand. There's so much out there. Like, you can get on YouTube, you can get on anything. But, once you put, so let's say, for example, you want to lose weight, okay? You want to lose weight, you're trying to figure out how to do it. You've done it on your own a million times, it hasn't worked. You're trying to figure out, well, what's the next step? So you hire a dietitian or a nutritionist, right? You might hire a strength and conditioning coach or a personal trainer. So those may be the ones that you choose to spend your money on. You don't need a personal shopper. You can figure out which clothes you're going to wear. You know how to kind of roll out or stretch. So you're like, I can manage that. Okay, so these are the ones I'm going to focus on. You're all in on these, right? So you start losing weight. You start eating well. You start understanding nutrition better. But you start working out. You start getting sore, right? You start building muscle. Maybe an injury comes up or some area starts talking to you. You start to get this noisy area. And that's not something that you did that was bad. That's part of the process. That's part of the process of trying to build muscle and to get in shape and all of this. So now all of a sudden you've said, okay, well, I've got this dietitian, this nutritionist, I've got a strength coach, personal trainer, whatever. You know, like I'm doing this, why would I need to do anything else, right? Well, something changed, right? You got injured or an area. So maybe now the personal trainer is noticing that this joint just isn't moving the way it's supposed to, right? And so he's saying maybe you need to go get that because we're limited with what we can do. So then maybe you seek out a chiropractor or a physical therapist, right? And then you try to work with them. And then maybe you realize that you get a mental block. Maybe you start working with a sports psychologist, right? So it's a fluid, like you have to think that not like this is going to be where it's going to be and this is how it's only going to be. You have to think about all these different providers that are out there, and your team might change all the time. You might find someone you like, you might find someone that you find like a little bit more. But understand that you need to look at this broad base and determine like what you're good at and then who do you need to kind of seek out. And So like I encourage you to experience each of your proposed team members at least once while you're healthy, right? So you go in there and maybe you can never try acupuncture, you don't know what it's like, you go in there and you try it out. Maybe you had a massager, a chiropractor, or a physical therapist, so you just go kind of put these people together on your team so you got them and like you're in, your Rolodex, right? Like when something comes up, I've already got this figured out. And then you understand the benefits that they provide, and then you have a better idea of how often and when you should see them, and you have an idea of what they can do for you. So that when these things pop up, it's not this like month-long, I don't know where to go, I think I'm just going to wait, I'm going to take some time off, it's not getting any better, I've been dealing with this for 6 weeks, now I'm coming to you, I need to run tomorrow. I'm sure somebody said that, right? So they've done a great job of putting all these providers out there. Now you have to just determine what you think you're good at, what you're confident with, and then determine who is going to be your provider for when things come up. Because it's not a weakness if things come up. It's all the best athletes. They all have their teams now put together. They spend a lot of money on their teams, and they're playing longer because of it. And so it's not like a weakness to have to use these people. It's more of like, I want to perform at this level, and I need some help getting there. So that's what I would say to all that.
Scott?
I have a question for you specifically. You said, you hinted at maybe they stopped running and maybe they shouldn't. So how does one self-assess and put yourself in that position of, am I injured to where I shouldn't be doing this, or do I need to go out and really talk to somebody about this? Because it's not necessarily a rehab incident, like something didn't fall off, it just feels
So I'll tell you what I tell a lot of my patients. There are two scenarios where I'm going to pull a plug on a runner. One is if a stress fracture is at play, and the second is if that runner is really suffering. And the way that I define suffering is like there's pain and then there's suffering. And suffering really breaks that divide for me into a zone that tells me like something's going on here where we need to adjust your training and not only make it more enjoyable, but reduce that suffering piece so that you can enjoy it again. I know that's a little bit vague and not specific, but I think that for the people that I've been working with, that seems to give them at least a nudge in the right direction to be like, okay, maybe this scenario is actually safe for me, I'll try to continue to train. But if you're really nervous, like go see your provider and get that ruled out as fast as possible so that you can continue to train. And if you're ever in doubt, use me as a resource. I'm happy to answer questions from a distance. I'm very privileged to work in a capacity where I can engage with people in that way. So don't hesitate to shoot an email.
And that was a great point as well, because we've been trying to change therapists' perception of if you're injured, just stop doing what you're doing. Tim Gabbett came out with a great research study in 2015, 2016 that shows that if you totally stop running, right, your chronic workload goes right down to zero, right? And then when you start running again, right, your acute workload jumps up, right? And so you have to measure between your chronic and your acute workload. And so his study showed that if you increase your chronic to your acute workload by 15% or more, right, you had a 21% increased risk of injury, right? So if we don't have to, we don't want to make our runners stop running, because once they start again, they've got a higher increased risk of injury again, right? And we have to back them down again. So if we can keep them running with good form for as long as we can, pain-free or like with minimal pain, then we can keep that chronic workload to a certain point and we can correct everything else, right, while you get better, and then we can increase that acute workload again, right? So
a lot of times they'll break down a specific, it's 5 miles. I break down to 5 miles. So run up until that and then stop before you break down. You don't want to keep pushing through that necessarily, because it can cause injury.
Yeah, and your question was to like, when should I stop, like how do I self-assess when to stop running, which I think is important, but there's also a question of like, maybe you can keep running, but you need to see someone, so I just wanted to give a couple like frameworks for that. So a rule that I'll often tell people is, if you start having pain and that pain is lasting for more than 2 to 4 weeks, that's a time where it's not just like, I tweaked something and my body's gonna get over it on its own. That's like something's lasting here, I need to do something a little bit different. Or if you had some pain, you backed off, it got better, but then you restarted into your activity again, and the pain comes back. I mean, like, okay, it didn't self-resolve, need to alter something. So you can spend a little bit more time trying to kind of like self-problem solve that. Like, maybe I need to change my shoes, maybe I need to change this or that. But if you've tried a couple things and that pain is still happening, then that's a great time to come see somebody to help give you some assistance in working through it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be pulled back off of the sport. It might just mean supporting it with some other things or changing up something